Alright guys, we have some very exciting content to go over today. Fire Knight Tournament Galen pack only, and nobody's doing it. A 4-star chicken for 2,000 points? Yeah, never mind. I think I'm gonna skip this. Instead, let's focus on something else, the faction wars. I've been trying to speed farm all of them, and today I have another one for you guys. It is going to be the Orcs in just about a minute. I think that's absolutely amazing, so I'll go over the champions, the builds, the masteries, all of that good stuff so that you guys have a working model. All that said, let's get right to it. But first, a quick side note about the clan versus clan tournaments and the points rebalance. I predicted that there was going to be in the shop some kind of shard deal. We don't have a summon rush, we don't have a champion chase tournament, but I saw this. I want to know if this is a good deal for you guys. Would you actually be willing to buy this right now and open it during the clan versus clan tournament in the hopes of getting something good so that you can get more points in the clan versus clan tournaments? I would really love to know, because the last one here at $14 for a sacred shard is usually pretty decent by Canadian dollar standards. As for the first one here, I'm not sure. This doesn't look overly good, but maybe the other ones here are. So I'd be really curious to know if you guys are actually going to go for this, and is the clan versus clan tournament going to turn into a little bit more of a shard opening event outside of, like I said, the normal events and champion chase tournaments? So anyway, do let me know in the comments below. Now on to our Orcs 21 speed team with a Krila Witch Arm and Iron Brago as fusion champions. Then we have Tuak the Wanderer, which was part of a fusion, but I ended up pulling an extra one. Then we have a Seer and a Zargala. So obviously not exactly free to play friendly, but I am end game after all, and I just wanted to showcase this. As you can see, we are nuking the waves, no problem. This is a relatively easy crypt to do. We don't have those annoying Valkyries to deal with. So overall, if you are fast enough and you nuke, hard enough, you'll be able to do this in no time, less than 30 seconds to get to the boss. Here, there is a little bit of RNG involved because you can get destroyed by this boss. I'm not going to say this is a high success rate. I don't care. You know what? I don't care. At a minute a run, I can easily just restart until I get this. So as you see right there, we take maybe 1 or 2 hits before we die. But every once in a while, I will have Iron Brago kind of solo the boss. That can happen. I also noticed that sometimes he's not going to do the HP exchange if he's solo with Iron Brago. Don't quote me on that, but it is a little bit weird. I'm not sure what dictates that, but anyway, overall, this is what you have right here. And when everything lines up, he doesn't get the chance to do his HP swap, and then we're done in 1 minute and 5 seconds. So absolutely amazing. This is literally the fastest crypt I have on my account. Now onto the champion builds and masteries, but what I'll also do for you guys is explain the other places where I use these champions, and then maybe the gear will make a little bit more sense, because obviously I didn't exactly gear those champions to be specifically for the crypts, right? A great example is Krila Witch Arm, where she's usually in my clan boss team, or in now some of my clan boss teams, which is why she's rocking a reflex set. I think she's a great candidate for this, especially if you have the Batman Forever or Unkillable comp, right? So we have this gear right here, total stats 220 speed. That is pretty important. 70% ish crit rate because we have the increased crit rate buff, 238% crit damage, enough accuracy for the crypt, but not for the clan boss. You don't care about that. Therefore, I did try to make this somewhat of a hybrid build, right? You also want some attack here. Even more would be a lot better. 4.5k would be ideal, but then it's pretty hard to do with a reflex set, okay? All the skills are done on this champion. The allies joint attack is also great for that crypt. The buffs right here are fantastic for Seer, so it works really well. And then for the masteries, we do have War Master for the tier 6, into lasting gifts. You do want Cycle of Magic for those occasional procs, therefore your skills come out more often. But here's where I typically use my Krila Witch Arm. Number 1 against the Ultra Nightmare, or Nightmare basically, clan boss, right? So this is Void, but I do have a better now without Krila Witch Arm, and that comes in the form of a Farrakhan the Fat, all right? So Fane and Farrakhan are now my 2 DPS champions, and I can reach a little bit more damage, but overall, Krila is still needed, especially for the Force Affinity, where I gotta get her to be the stun target. I do believe I've reached above 70 million with this team, but it's very RNG dependent, but overall, this is the Krila Witch Arm. Up next is Iron Brago, the other fusion champion. Absolutely amazing. Used to be in my clan boss team, which is why he's rocking a stalwart set. Because I had a Bad Alcazar, I can afford to do this because I had good heals overall. If you don't have the Bad Alcazar, star, perhaps it is best to stick to a lifesteal set, so don't blindly copy this, is what I'm saying. Total stats for this guy, 6,000 defense, or very close to. Just the right amount of speed, give or take a couple off, so maybe I can glyph this for it to work again for Ultra Nightmare. But if you want to tune for Nightmare, Ultra Nightmare, you could make him a little bit slower. It might still work for the crypt. You do want some accuracy on this guy for the crypt, but also for the clan boss, right? So more crit damage would be great. Not easy to do. All the skills are done on this guy. For the masteries, we do have War Master for the tier 6, and I was kind of using lasting gifts and a cycle of magic for the clan boss as well. It worked. It didn't really cause any issues. Evil Eye obviously is useless for the clan boss, but it is good for the crypt, and it kind of does make a difference, so I would suggest you try and do this as well. So here's where I was using Iron Brago before. We had my old clan boss team, Ultra Nightmare, Void Affinity, with a lot of defense champions, counter attack, but also Bad Alcazar here to heal us, right? AoE, heal A1, or just heal A1 basically. Then we have continuous heals, but we have more continuous heals from here. So overall, I could afford to have like Stalwart. I have Stalwart here. I believe Skull Crusher's in Lifesteal, and then Rearguard Sergeant here is in a Toxic set, if I remember correctly. So this is how I got those results. I tried some other affinities with similar builds. For example, the Magic Affinity worked really well here as well. 42.55 million damage. Obviously, this is a 2-key Ultra Nightmare. This is what I was aiming for, not trying to reach that 1 key. And then we also have another example here, I believe, Force Affinity, with instead of the Rear Guard, we have a Bulwark, which also worked quite nicely. So overall, that was my Iron Brago. The next one is the one, the only, the amazing, the beautiful Seer. She's probably the best epic in the game. Like, seriously, she is absolutely broken, and she used to be even more broken, by the way. She used to be able to nuke the bosses the same way she does of the waves, but she has since been nerfed a little bit. Anyway, I do have a dedicated build video on her. I'm not going to spend too much time. Still the same speed, 100% crit rate, 283% crit damage in Savage gear, by the way, but also 250 resistance and 250 accuracy. This is for the hard Doom Tower, all right? I still use her the same way for the hard Doom Tower. Maybe I could push her even further up in terms of crit damage if I were to drop some resistance, but you know what? It works. It works on full auto for almost all the floors from 1 to 119, so I don't care. Obviously, I do use her elsewhere, which I'll show you guys in a second. All of her skills are done, and then for the masteries, we do have Flawless Execution for the tier 6. Helm Smasher might be a little bit better if I were able to reach, let's say, 300% crit damage without Flawless Execution, but I'm not quite at that point yet. We also have Evil Eye here, which is important for some of the dungeon runs that you guys will see in a second, but also important for that crypt, all right? So Evil Eye on almost all the champions that you saw so far. Really, really important to turn meter control of the boss at the end. So here's where I typically use Seer in terms of dungeons. We have the Dragon 24 or 25, which is kind of the same concept. The only difference for 25 is that I would replace Frozen Banshee with the Cold Brawler. Kind of works the same, right? I did get a slightly faster run if you remove some gear from free mirror champions for them to die faster, but I don't typically do that. Then we have the Fire Knight 25. My current build, not the one where I'm trying to build a 1-minute team. I will get back to that eventually, but Seer's also obviously in there to nuke the waves. And then we have the Ice Golem 24 here in 1 minute and 34 seconds with a team that I don't always use, because Frozen Banshee is a little bit of an RNG to not trigger the Frigid Vengeance. If it does and she's solo, she's gonna die. But overall here, Seer again nuking the waves. Finally, the last two champions, which are pretty much only geared for the crypt at this point, all right? So I don't use Tuhak the Wanderer for anything else really except for that. He was part of my original team to reach level 21. Same thing with Zargala, which you'll see in a second. So leftover gear for these champions, sort of, in a sense, right? Especially him attacking crit rate. We're just kind of going for stats, so 4.5k attack, give or take. We're relatively slow. We don't even have 100% crit rate. 204% crit damage. You do want a little bit of accuracy here, so certainly aim for about 220. I believe all the skills are done on this guy as well. Like I said, he was kind of clutch to complete the Orcs crypt because of the turn meter control. Stealing the turn meter, really, really important. The stun can also be really important for the waves. At some point, decreased speed is also really important, and AoE, increased speed, is also kind of important here as well. So as you can see, like, he is a valuable member of this team in a sense, but the way that I'm nuking now, maybe not as much, all right? So you could easily do with different champions. We do have War Master for the tier 6. I suppose it could be Helm Smasher. Cycle of Magic, yes, and Lasting Gifts for more increased speed, but Evil Eye is probably the most important here. And then the last one is going to be the one that requires a library to book, it is a Zargala. She is insane. She requires so many bucks. A lot of people say it's not worth it, but she's a really good nuker. Okay, she hits really hard, and I did use her for some of the keeps, the potion keeps for a while. Maybe I still do. I'd have to double check, but overall she has decent stats, almost 5,000 attack, 194 speed. She's a debuffer. She needs to be faster than Seer, and that's probably the most important part. So you get Krila going first, then Zargala, then Seer, and then you can have the other two. It doesn't really matter. So crit rate is not 100%. We don't care. Accuracy, you do want enough to land that decreased defense. Full cruel gear across the board, but it's not my best cruel gear. And the skills are all done. And finally, we have for the Masteries, Helm Smasher for the tier 6, and we do have Sniper here for a higher chance of placing the decreased defense, I believe. More attack overall with Laura Steel. Evil Eye here might also be important, but I think I never really changed it. Okay, so I could optimize this a little bit further, but to be honest, at this point, it doesn't really matter. So overall, there you have it, guys. My fastest crypt team ever built on my account. About a minute. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.